welcome on in, everybody, to MVP, the Mo Vaughn podcast. Brendan Tobin alongside the man himself, Mo Vaughn. And Mo, we got a real treat today. This one is an exciting one.
Man, I can't believe we're going to get this amount of baseball knowledge with former Commissioner Bud Selig. I'm really excited. He's done so much for the game.
Absolutely. Commissioner, thanks for the time. We really appreciate you.
Well, hi, guys. A pleasure to be with both of you.
Well, I'm curious from this, Bud, is there, when you look back on your legacy and, you know, and everything, is there one thing that you go to immediately that you're most proud of?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, I don't know where to start on this, but let me suggest this to you. The economic overhaul of the game, the wild card, renaming Jackie Robinson, all the Jackie Robinson stuff. But there's really a lot of stuff. I mean, I have to say that here. I'm great. I was there for 23 years, almost 24. And I'm proud of what we accomplished. As I look back, are there things I wish we could do? Yeah. But after 23 or 24 years that we did, I remember, for instance, Mo, you remember this, the wild card. When I put the wild, people were mad. Baseball can't. Ask yourself this question today: where will we be without the wild card?
Man, it really gets that last month of the season. Everybody's just on their feet, engaged. It's been beautiful. And Commissioner, let me just say a couple things. You're right. You have done a lot. I mean, first of all, you were the commissioner from 1998 to 2005, and you were the acting commissioner actually from 1992.
Yeah, and I was really there from 1992 on.
Exactly. And then you owned the Brewers from 1970 to 1998. In turn, you oversaw alignment, 3 divisions, 1994, introduced the wild card, the retirement of number 42 in 1997. You added the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. You added the Arizona Diamondbacks in 1999. You introduced, replay, 2014. And you also introduced in 2008 the home run replay. I mean, the additional wild card. There was just so many things that
A lot of impressive stuff
you have done. It's unbelievable. And what bothers me about it is everybody always wants to bring back, the steroid era or how that happened. You were the catalyst for what the game is today, how we like the game. The game has been sped up. All those things were critical under what you did, and that needs to be said.
Well, it does, but I'm proud of it. I know that. Look, Mo, you know this. After all, you played in Boston, where they criticize everything, but when you look at the record, and I know when I went in the Hall of Fame, all this was said. I'm proud of that. Yeah, look, we had a strike that cost the World Series, and it was over things that they're still fighting about.
Exactly.
And I understand that, but when I look at where the game was and where it was when I left 23 years later, I'm satisfied.
You should be. You've done great. And just so let's understand where I felt about the strike. And all I felt was I was batting .320, 26 bombs, and 82 RBIs at the break, and we didn't play any more baseball. That's the only thing that bothered me about the strike, is that I didn't get to put those numbers up.
And you know what? I understand that. I do.
Well, that's all
I do. I understand. Look, that strike was about salary cap and things that are still people arguing about today. But overall, I'd have to say, when I look at where we were in 1993, 92, where we were in 2016 or 15 when I left, I'll let everybody make their own judgment, but I'm satisfied that we did well. And
Right. We are too. We are too.
How difficult is that, Bud? Just as part of the job, it feels like as commissioner, you have to deal with the balance of the owners and the players. Feels like you'll hear the unhappiness on both sides, and then from the fans as well. But that feels like it's part of the gig. So when you got it, was that a difficult thing to adjust to? Of like, maybe it's going to be a thankless job from time to time.
That's a great question. I took over, not ever believing that I was going to take over. I was the owner of the Milwaukee Brewers, and but the criticism started. It's tough but I got used to it after a while. I didn't like it, but as everybody knows, I did what I'm doing here. I went on TV. I talked to people. I was very friendly, as Mo knows, with a lot of players. I understood their problem. And in the end, when you're the commissioner, and I often told Rob this, you got to do what you think is right. And you can't worry. There are some people going to criticize no matter what. I would say this to Mo. You can hit 400 and people be mad about a double play you hit into. Or, what the hell? I mean, you're going to have things. But if you know what you're doing and you understand the position that you're in, you got to go do what you think is right and move on from there.
Commish, you were the what I would call, to me, the last baseball guy that's going to be a commissioner, due to the fact of your ownership experience. You went to a World Series in 1982. When it's funny, I got called up and I played it. I was lucky enough to play against Robin Yount and Paul Molitor and Gantner, some of the guys of the past, and they were very, very nice to me in terms of me teaching me how I got to play and how to make it in the league.
Sure.
It was a great time, and you were a part of that time. What do you see now? You know that in your time, we knew how to hit behind the runner, a guy at second base, we got him over. We know when we needed a run, we're down by a run, we got man on first and second, we were going to bunt him over. You know that because you went to a World Series and you had to beat, I think, the Cardinals to do, I forgot who it was to do it. It was a
Cardinals. We played the Cardinals.
We played the Cardinals because you were in the American League at the time. Right. And that whole, the way that they played, baseball was played the right way. Do you ever see now the baseball going back to doing the little things to be successful in the game anymore?
Well, we go in cycles, and you're right. 82 was quite a year. We had quite a team. We had 5 Hall of Famers on there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for us, Raleigh Fingers got hurt and didn't play, and that, I think, I even convinced Whitey Herzog after a while that was the difference between the two, and I really believe so. I believe we win in 6 games, but that's neither here nor there. But the game was different. It different is now. Whether it runs in cycles again, only time will tell.
Okay.
We saw as you got on this interview, you still have that love for the Brewers, huh? I mean, that doesn't go away.
He's watching them.
You bet. I watch every game. Oh, I do. I know. In fact, when I got done being the commissioner, all the owners said, well, you go back to watching your Brewers again, because I did get away from that. But, Mo, you said something, and I consider myself a baseball man.
You are.
Owned a team. I was very close to my players. I have great respect for players. And I did what I thought was right. And the only thing that ever mattered to me what was in the best interest of the game. And so I know people sometimes want to be critical, but overall, the game grew. And the
Yeah.
game grew big time. Now, the steroid thing one of you mentioned, and that's fair. By the way,
But Commissioner, there were a lot of great players in that time. It wasn't like everybody was doing steroids. There was a lot of great players.
You're absolutely right.
There's a lot of great players.
And people can read into it whatever they want to.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is there were a lot of great players. And it was unfortunate. But most importantly, we cleaned up the game. We cleaned it up. Today, baseball has the toughest drug testing policy in America, not only in sports, but overall. So we did what we had to do and cleaned it up. And so
don't let that weigh on you, Commissioner.
It doesn't weigh on me anymore. I'm proud of the fact that in 2011, we moved forward, and people say today we have not only the toughest drug testing program in sports, but in America. And the World Anti-Doping Association says it, and USADA says it. So we did what we had to do, and we dealt with our problem. It was unfortunate. The union was very difficult on this issue, and so we had to do some of the things that we had to do. But again, it wound up okay because we dealt with it.
Right.
And today, there's no sport that has a drug testing program as tough as ours. So that's the important.
Well, when you got into this, did you ever imagine when you took over as commissioner, you said like you didn't know you were going to be in for the long haul. Could you imagine things like this that you would have to handle? I imagine those are things you don't even imagine when you take the job, that you realize, hey, this is going to land on my doorstep one day.
I'll tell you a story about that. When I took this, we had lost the World Series, and they asked me to be the commissioner, and I never realized that the things would be as difficult as they were. But in the end, once I took the job, and the last 10 or 12 years that I was a commissioner, it was good. We got a lot done, talked about the wild card and all the things that we did. And the players were cooperative at that point. And so overall, yeah, listen, when you take a job like this, there's going to be some controversy, but we did okay.
I'll tell you one thing, Mo, as a wild card fan, because I'm a Marlins fan, 2 World Series, they were both wild card teams. Yeah. So that was like a change of trajectory. How much did you battle with that? How much pushback did you get when you brought up the wild card as the first concept?
That's really quite interesting, because when I put the wild card in, man, did I get criticized. Oh, boy, it was tough. Bob Costas and others really hated it. Guys, look what it's done for baseball.
It's outstanding.
It is outstanding. But as I said, when you take a job like this, whatever you do, somebody's going to criticize.
Question. Brendan and I live, we're South Florida guys. I'm here. I have season tickets to the Marlins because, I like to do certain things. The Marlins have a tremendous stadium.
Yes.
Tremendous venue. How can we get it? And listen, I guess I know the answer, but to have what they have and not having ownership going out to compete, is there a mechanism that can be put in place to force owners to spend money to make their teams, at least viable, throughout the season?
Well, I have a little different view of that, because I don't want to talk about the Marlins in particular, although, by the way, they've been playing pretty well the last 3 months or so. And there are other clubs that don't spend a lot of money, and I won't mention whom they are, but they're playing not too far from me right now. So, look, I agree that teams should be competitive. I can't quarrel with that, Mo. I think that's absolutely right. And I think for the most part, they are. I know we're going to get into some debates in the coming months about salary caps and other things. But anything that increases competition, I'm for. And I having run a team myself, I know how tough it is. I know how difficult it is. But more importantly than that, I would say to you that I think we have a decent level of competition. But if there are things in the new collective bargaining agreement that help in that area, I'm for them. I'm for 'em.
What were those conversations like when you were commissioner? From, we won't name teams, but let's just say the teams that spent a lot and the other teams that did it their other methods. How did you balance being, kind of the mediator between how maybe big market teams wanted to do things as opposed to the teams that couldn't spend as much or didn't spend as much?
Well, that's a problem. But I really think we solved it. Is it perfect now? No. Does the system need some work? Yes. I know there are different theories on salary cap, and I find those interesting because I think that deals with it. Let me just say this to you. 3 of the other major sports all have salary caps, and they're working, and they're working well. So you're raising the right issues, but I do think it's important that we continue to deal with those things. And so you got races right now. Detroit winning, first time in a long time, is very good. Detroit's a marvelous baseball town, and I'm glad they are. And at the moment, Milwaukee winning and other clubs. So I think the sport is healthy, but it needs change. It needs help in the areas that you're talking about.
How important is it to stay ahead of the curve on those things? Because we talked about, you had a lot of foresight on those ideas. Do you feel like baseball might be at a time now where they need a couple other ideas?
Oh, I think that's what this labor negotiation is going to be about. I touched. And yes, I do. I think we've gone through a whole raft of things. But do I think that there are things that can be done? I do, guys. I do. And so I would say to you that, yes, we need work to be done. But this is where I hope both sides will sit down and have the greatest game in the world. Intense interest. More interest, I think, today than ever before. And we can have disagreements. We had them for many years, too much. I don't think we understood, Mo, and how much that hurt us. But the last 22 years of my commissionership, we had no lockout, no strike, no nothing. And that really helped us. I think when you look back, some of the labor problems that we had really hurt us. So we have to be careful about that.
Commissioner, what was, we're not too far away from the anniversary of you getting into the Hall of Fame. What was that moment like for you?
Well, here I was, a kid from Milwaukee, bought a team and brought it to my hometown, which I'll always be very proud of. And I can remember driving to Chicago. I said to everybody, I want to drive by myself because I want to think about everything that happened. Odds were against us. They didn't really want to come back here. This is a great baseball town, as Mo knows, and they've sold out 8 or 9 of the last home games here. And to think you're getting in the Hall of Fame, for me, was really beyond anything that I could think about. Can't tell you how proud I was. I remember sitting, I'll tell you a little story if we have a little time here. I was sitting, we went to Washington, where the winter meetings were and where we had been announced. And there I was with John Surhouse of Atlanta, who's a friend of mine, a close friend of mine. John and I did a lot of things together. And he looked at me in the morning, and I looked at him, and he said to me first, and then Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, go on and on and on. How fortunate are we? And that's how I felt about the Hall of Fame. It's an honor that it was just phenomenal. And meant everything in the world. And I think the one thing about baseball, and Mo will know this as a player, you're taught early on, above all, you got to respect the game. And that transcends you, me, everybody else. And so, what did I think? Well, it's an honor that I still regard. I couldn't go this year for health things, which are fine now. But I watched the whole thing, and I miss being there. I miss being with all the guys, and that's what makes the game so good. It's marvelous history. Sure, we have unfortunate things. Life is difficult. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but think about this. John Surhouse was right when he named all the people, and to think we're involved in that. We did enough so that people voted to bring us into it. I would say to you, amongst many things, it's the greatest honor of my life.
Well deserved.
Well deserved. This past a couple of months, the great Bob Uecker was at Marlins Park when they honored him. You know, his life passed. You had some statements about him, but for our audience, would you mind, you know, just thoughts of the legendary Brewers voice? Of course, you all remember the Harry Doyle character from Major League. It felt like he was such a great ambassador for the game.
Oh, he was just a bit outside. Remember that great line? The ball was 6 feet on. I'll tell you the story. Bob and I go back a long time. Obviously, he's a Milwaukee guy. And we got the team, and in that year, so it was January of 71, and we were at the New York Writers' Dinner. Bob was starting his career, and Bob was great. And I said to him, let's go out afterward. And it was a very simple thing. We were talking, and 2 old friends, and we were already very close. I said, how'd you like to work for the Brewers? Shrugged his shoulder, and he said, why not? I'd love to. And that's how that whole thing started. And he did some games. We did some games that were... I didn't hire him to be a play-by-play announcer. Actually, I looked for something for him to do, and I made him a scout. He was the worst scout in baseball history. And he would, if he were here today, he would have... I sent him up to the Northern League where he scouted. Oh, man. Frank Lane was our general manager. Remember Frank Lane? He was a bombastic... You guys are too young to remember him, but he had been a very famous general manager. And he came in about a week later, and he said, your guy Uecker. Yeah, why? What about him? Here's his scouting report. It had mashed potatoes all over it. You couldn't read the thing. And what people have forgotten, and there's Harry Doyle and all the things that you would know. And he was on Johnny Carson more than any other person. Bob, legitimately, Mo, as you know, too, if you were with him, he was just a funny guy. He's just a funny guy, but he turned himself into a great announcer. A great announcer. And so he became a legend here, but really into baseball. And Bob and I have a lot of fun together.
Well, Commissioner, this was a pleasure. This was a ton of fun. We appreciate you giving us some time here.
I just want to say one thing that, well, hopefully you'll understand. After retirement, I got into the business world, and I owned a big real estate entity where thoughts of the entity and thoughts of the business, I realized why certain decisions were made, because you're owning an entity, you have to do things a certain way. And all of these thoughts, sitting down thinking about you over the last, because I think we knew he was coming for a couple weeks now. Just know that I understand what it is, because I've been on the other side, and I understand what it is to own and run an operation and try to make decisions. And just to let you know, you were a great commissioner. You're last of the great guys, the baseball guys, to be a commissioner. And we over here respect everything that you've done to make the game better.
Well, Mo, thank you. For that, I appreciate it. Of the many things that we could cover, my relationship with players was always really important to me. The other day, you'll get a kick out of this. We used to have a big loge in Milwaukee where you could pace. And Robin Yount was kidding me with Molitor and Teddy Simmons and others. I'd pace back and forth. I was a nervous game watcher. That's the understatement of the year. And Rob said, we could tell. He said, I told Charlie Moore one day, boy, look at him pace. Ooh, we better win this game. And so that meant a great deal to me, because they knew how much I cared. But I cared about them too. And oftentimes people say, well, the owners did this, or the commissioner did that, or the players did that. Easy enough to find fault. But you asked about the Hall of Fame. The greatest honor all of us have, and that includes Mo and me. We were lucky to be part of that game. That's the important.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Lots of good luck, and we'll talk in the future.
Okay. See you later.